Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to quickly show you kind of what the agenda is about. Okay, so today's webinar, I just want to welcome all of you. My name is John Sharp. I am the Ed Tech at Tempe High School. And during this time, you can use any Ed Tech to answer your questions. So you don't have to use the specific Ed Tech at your school, but you're certainly welcome to do that if you feel more comfortable. At the end of this webinar, I'll put my email address in there so that if you have any individual questions, you certainly can contact me anytime. I'm happy to help. So what we're going to do is we're going to sign in, and then we're also going to have the opportunity to go into Schoology, and I'm going to show you how to communicate with your students and parents in Schoology. And then I'm going to show you how to use the update feature in Schoology to communicate with your parents and students in Schoology. I'll give you some resources at the end, and if you have any final questions, then we'll go ahead and answer those. And just a reminder to sign in. If you don't do it now, you can certainly do it towards the end of the class. Okay. Let's keep this informal. So if you have any questions, just unmute yourself and you can go ahead and ask those questions as we go along. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to jump into Schoology. Okay, maybe. Okay, and I'm going to go to the teacher section. And I'm going to select a teacher from my school. And I'm just going to select one of those periods down there at the bottom, okay? It's just to get my gradebook opened. Okay, so what we're going to do is the first thing you need to do is once your gradebook's open, and this is where you take attendance, of course, you're going to go up to that home button in the top left corner, and you're going to click on that little down arrow. And when you do that, it's going to open up this pull down menu, and you're going to want to select communication. Okay? Oh. Okay, so I'm going to click on communication, and you'll see that when you open it, it looks like an email. Okay, you just need to add all your information to that. And when you start with this communication function in the From area, I would always recommend that you click on Blind Copy Me on emails, okay? When you click on that button, what it does is it will send a copy of this email to your Tempe Union Gmail address, okay? So you'll have a record of it in your email, and then it also will save a message in your message history down here, okay? So if you do not click on that Blind Copy Me, it kind of goes into a black hole and you won't have a record of what you sent to your students. So the first thing you should always do is in that From section is make sure that you blind copy me on emails I send, okay? Alrighty, so the next section, we've done the From now because it's automatically generated with your name and email address. We're gonna go to the To section, okay? Now you'll notice currently it has the parents and it's specific to my first period class, okay? But that can be easily changed. So when I go to the pull down menu for people, you'll notice the options are student, parents, both students and parents, and then specific students and parents, okay? So if I did just students, and I wanted to send a greeting to students in all of my classes at one time. So it's a general greeting and not specific to the class. What I can do is I can say students right here and then select all of the periods so they would all get the exact same message from me, okay? Right. So now what I would recommend at this point, since we want to really keep parents in the loop in what's going on in all of our classes, I would recommend that you use both students and parents. So in that case, if you select both students and parents, you would be sending this message to all your students in all your periods, and parents would be CC'd on that, okay? Now, if you wanted to send an individual message, like if you want it to be specific to your senior English class, then what you would do is you would select all your senior English, and I would CC all parents so that they know what the expectation is for their students during this week. And what you could do is send an individual message that talks about expectations for your senior English group, okay? And that's what I've done here, okay? Now, if you wanted to do some differentiation in your class and you wanted to send specific information to just a small group of students in one of your classes, what you can do is click on that people, pull down menu again, and go to specific students and or parents. So I'm going to click on that. And what that does is it's pulling up my first period senior English class and all those other English classes that I had currently selected. I'm going to go back real quick and show you. So what it's doing is it's selecting specific students. Oops, sorry. I'm gonna, hold on one second. I'm actually gonna refresh. I think I'm gonna go back in, home, communication, my blank copy, and I'm gonna select specific students and parents. Okay, so notice before I did that, I had all of my senior English checked off. So this is providing all of the students in my senior English, okay? So now what I'm gonna do is I want to pick a few specific students that I'm gonna send this message to.
Right.
Okay, and I'm also, the left-hand side is for students, the right-hand side is for parents. So I'm gonna make sure that I CC their parents too, okay? Okay, so now once I've put it input all the students that I want to send this message to, I can click on done, and you'll notice that it gives you a running list of all the students and parents that I just selected. And know that it works in like a BCC or a blind copy so that nobody else can see who is included on this email. So for example, Nicholas will receive an individual email that'll look like it's coming only to him, and he will not see the other people that were included, okay? So it does preserve privacy, and you don't need to worry about FERPA in that case because it just sends an individual message to each one of these people, okay? I'm gonna check back in with you right now, and I wanna see if you have any questions so far. Okay, is everyone having an opportunity to kind of click and do this along with me?
Oh, I can do that now.
Yeah, if you wanna do that, sure.
Communication.
Okay.
Blind copy.
Claudia, you asked a really good question. She asked, hold on, let me get there. What if you don't have a class or you need to send a message to a group of students that aren't in your class? Can you give me an example of when you might need to do that?
4, 6.
So Jerry, can you give me an example of when you might need to message a group of students that aren't in your class? Okay, all right. So, you know what I can do is I can have a private conversation with you later, and actually what I'll do is we can come up with a strategy so that you're able to connect with students, okay? All right, so I will give you my email address at the end of this, and then we can come up with a strategy on how you can communicate with those students, okay? Great. Okay, so I'm gonna jump back into my Synergy. I've selected, in this case, I've selected specific students and their parents for this message, okay? Again, I could have selected students and parents for all my classes or selected specific periods, okay? So now what I'm gonna do is I wanna make sure that I CC my, my AP, my assistant principal on this of academics. So I'm gonna put her last name in. And what it'll do is it'll find her in here and I can click on that. So now she will be CC'd on this message so she knows that I sent out some information, okay? From here on out, it's pretty much the typical email that you would send. You wanna put a subject. In this case, I'm just gonna make it a general greeting. Okay, So once I've got my subject in there, I'm going to go ahead and put my message. Now you have a couple options here. If you wanted to, you could just type in this text editor box right now. Okay, if you wanted to do that, you could do that. Or if you wanted to, you could do the message in Microsoft Word. And I'm just going to use this. This really isn't a message, but I'm going to use this, and I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste it right into my Synergy. Okay, so you see, this was information that I added right in the text editor box, this right here. And then the rest of this is what I added from a Word document, okay? And the really cool thing about copying from a Word document, especially when you have a live link like this, it remains live. So when the student gets that, they can click on that link and it will be a live link for them, okay? So 2 ways to do this in your message. You can just automatically input your information right here using the text editor, or you can cut and paste from Google Docs or from a Microsoft Word document or any other text document for that matter. And then up here, this is really just some different text formatting that you can use if you wanted to make some changes to your text. Remember, once you have it in there, you would have to highlight it in order for the changes to happen. So if you wanted to change the font of your text, you would highlight everything, go in and see what the font options are, Comic Sans. If you wanted to change it to Arial, you can do that. If you wanted to make it a little bit bigger, you certainly can do that too. This is bold, italics, underline. And if you run your mouse across it, it'll tell you exactly what each of these formatting options is. So I'd encourage you to just explore that a little bit, okay?
All right.
Okay, so once you have your message already ready to go, you're pretty much ready to send. Now, there is one more option at the bottom that's called attachments. And I've been told by many teachers that it works very sporadically. If you add a file to it, sometimes students get it, but sometimes they don't. So if you really want to add an attachment to something, what I would recommend is that you do that in Schoology, okay? So if you have a specific assignment that has an attachment, you might want to tell them in this message, I have created some assignments in Schoology with specific documents attached. Please see those, okay? And in that respect, you can always assure your students that they're able to get the attachments and open them, okay? So my recommendation is to avoid using attachments in the Synergy communication system here. Now, because I'm an admin and I'm going in as another teacher, you won't see a send button down here, but you should, as a teacher, have that send button. So once you have inputted all your information here, remember to blind copy, schedule who you would like this to go to, okay? If you want to CC somebody, be sure to put in a subject so they know what you're talking about in your email message. And once you've got your message in there, you should be able to hit send. And what that'll do is it will send it to all Tempe Union or to student Tempe Union email addresses and to parents' email addresses, regardless of whether they're in Tempe Union or not. So if they have a Gmail or a Yahoo address, it is whatever we have in the system for that parent, okay?
Oh, wow. Okay.
If you find that you're getting a message back for some reason that a parent has an email that is not working, you can let us know. Let your ed tech know, and we can update that in the system with the correct address, okay? So right now, I'm pretty much done with this message. So if I had the send button here, I would click on send, and that would send out my message, okay? So I'm going to check back in with you guys. I want to make sure that everyone's comfortable with that so far. And if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask that question. Or if you'd like, you can click on the chat function and you can put your question in there too, okay? Okay, it looks like we are good to go. So we've kind of covered communicating in Synergy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to Schoology and show you how to use the updates feature. Okay, so dim in the top corner, you should be able to, you should see a little document there that, that looks like a chat document. If you can click on that, and I'll show you on my screen. When I click on that, it should look like this. There should be a chat feature. Okay. I'm wondering if, let me, hold on one second. Okay, I don't think it's gonna, it won't let me unmute when I'm using this. So if you want, if you want to, we can meet if you want to send me an email afterwards, and I can help you that way too. I can answer your questions that way too. All right. That's a really great question. So the question was from Michaela. John, what's the best way to let tech know about parents' email addresses that are not working or not in file? So if you get an email from a parent with the correct address, you can send it to your ed tech, or you could put in a ticket to your tech at your site, and they certainly can make sure that that information is updated. It only takes a few minutes. So once we have the correct information, what I would recommend is just to make it easy to put the student's name also in there so we can make it easy to find. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna jump into my Schoology. No?
I don't see a,
Do you not see my screen?
no, I don't see the submit button on that communication deal. I just see select files, John.
Scroll to the top and see if there's something there. A send.
Oh. Yeah, send.
Okay, good.
What's the send and return?
You know, I don't know because I don't have that option in mind.
Okay.
Okay, I will, I'll research that and let you guys know though. All right. Okay, so I am going into one of my courses that I've created. Is called my Beginning Schoology webinar course. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to create an update. Now, I want to explain the difference between using the communication tool in Synergy and using the communication tool in Schoology. Okay, in Synergy, when you create that message and you send it off, it will go to all student email addresses at Tempe Union, okay? It also will go to all parent email addresses that we have in the system in Synergy, okay? The difference here with the updates feature, which is on the left-hand side of Schoology, is that it stays within Schoology, okay? So when you create an update, the parent would have to log into Schoology in order to see this update, and so would the students, okay? So most students, if you go to the top right corner where you see my name, most students under the settings have gone in and they have turned off their notifications, okay? So most of the notifications, if you were to go into a student's account, would say off right here. And they've done that purposely so that they don't get pinged every time a notification comes through on their phone or on their computer. So we are going to have webinars on how to turn on those notifications for students because we want them to make sure that they are getting our messages. Okay, so again, the difference between Synergy is Synergy will send it directly to their email addresses. The updates feature stays specifically within Schoology, okay? And most students, when they log into Schoology, will see this front page right here. This is where all of their coursework is. And if you were to submit an update, they would see a little number right next to the updates here. But students are not typically used to clicking on this updates button, even if there was a little number 1 here, okay? So I'm going to show you a feature in updates that will post your announcement to the top of the screen and the top of their course. So when they do log in, that's the first thing they see in your course, okay? So what I'm going to do is kind of jump in right now and show you how to create an update. Okay, again, it's on the global navigation menu, which is the gray menu in your class. You can log into any of your classes to do this. And select the updates. So when I click on that updates, you'll notice that I have a running tally of all the updates I've done as samples in the classes that I've previously done for webinars. Okay, so what I would recommend is that you put in a greeting. You might want to start with a greeting, or this might be a great place to say what your expectations are for the given week. And I'm just going to put a quick greeting in. Again, if I wanted to do this in Microsoft Word and copy and paste it in here, I can do that. And I'm just going to do welcome to digital learning. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy some information from a Microsoft Word document, just like I did before. And this really is not a specific message. It is just some information that I have in one of my. Okay, so notice again, it copies the links. And what I'm going to do is I want to show you some important things in the formatting. Now, if you're going to put this, if you're going to make it so that the announcement is at the top of your screen, you're going to want it to be as big as possible, because if you use the default 12-point font, it comes out pretty small. So what I recommend is you highlight everything that you've put in here, which I just did. I highlighted all the text, and I'm going to go to this pull down where I have the number here to increase the font size. So I'm going to make it 14, which is the largest one. Now, it's not a huge difference, but it may be enough to get your students' attention, okay? So if I were to click on post right now, this would only post to the update section, and a student would have received a 1 next to the updates, okay? But I want to show you how to post it so that the message appears on the top of your course, okay? Because it will make it front and center for your students to see. Okay, next to the post button here, there's a little pull down menu. Okay, I'm going to pull that down right now, and you'll notice that there's a bell. And what you're doing is you're marking course update as an announcement. So I'm going to click on that bell. And what that's going to do, it's going to put my whole message on the top of the screen up here. So when a student logs in, that's the first thing they'll see. Okay, so I'm going to click on post. Notice that, I'm going to go to materials because that's what a student would normally see when they come in. Notice that this announcement is front and center. That's the first thing your students are going to see. So they would see your message here, and then they could scroll down to get to their work. So that is the best way to post an announcement that a student would see. You're kind of guaranteeing that they will see the announcement then. Again, you just go into updates to do that. And you'll notice that I've got my record of my announcement that I just made, okay, right here. And if I scroll down, you'll see I can have a history of all the announcements I've sent to my students at this point, okay? One thing important to note, when you do an announcement, that announcement will stay there until you remove it, okay? So the way you can remove it is just by going to that front page or even here, and there's a little remove at the bottom, okay? And you just click on that, and that will remove your announcement. Okay, remove your announcement. So if you wanted to add a new announcement, what would happen is it will only do one announcement at the top of your screen at a time. So if you put in a new announcement and you use that bell feature, it would replace the one that was there, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a second one, and I'm just going to pull something from one of my other Google Documents, and I'm going to put in this announcement. Good morning, students. And I'm going to copy that in. Okay, so I'm not going to do the bell this time because I want to show you what it'll look like. So I'm just going to post it. So I'm going to go to the top, or go back to materials. Now notice, since I didn't click on that bell, there's nothing there. The student would have to click on the updates right here where the 1 is in order to see my announcement. So you can see that that probably isn't the most effective way to do that, especially since students are not used to clicking on that updates button. Okay, again, I'm going to create a new update. And this time I'm going to make sure that I include the bell so it goes at the top. All right, I want to show you some of the features that are in this update box too. These are just some formatting features: bold, italicize, underline. If you wanted to create a bullet list, like to show them certain things that you want them to go to, you can create a number list. If you wanted to indent for emphasis, all you need to do is highlight on the text, and you can indent by clicking on that. If you wanted to move it back, you just have that text highlighted, move to the left or the right. You might have this clicked all the time. It's a spell check. It'll just do a squiggly line underneath anything spelled. And remember, I would recommend whenever you're doing an announcement to use the largest font. So pull down that font size and make it the largest font, which is 14. Okay. The last thing really that you need to be concerned about is insert content. And if you wanted to insert a link, you can do that here, but I'm going to show you how to do it down here. It's a lot easier. And if you are a math teacher, if you wanted to use math symbols or an equation in this announcement, you could access those here. Okay, just wanted to bring that to your attention. I'm going to run across all of these different things on the bottom. It's really quick and it shouldn't take too much time. Let's say you wanted to add a file for students to access from your computer. What I would tell them to do is please check Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm saying, good morning, please check the update section in the left-hand side menu of your Schoology course for files and attachments. Okay, so they'll click on that and they'll be able to get everything. So notice that when I did that before and I had the live links, they can do it that way. But when you click on this, they would have to go to the update section to get some of these attachments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to add something from your computer to this message. Okay, so I'm going to click on the file one first. Let's say I want to add a file for my students to take a look at before they get to work. I'll click on File. And what it does is it opens up my computer so that I can pick that file from my computer. So maybe, hopefully yours doesn't look like this right now. I've been doing a ton of screenshots for these webinars and for guiding teachers. I'm going to go to my document section, which you can see is a little more civilized. And I want them to look at Chap 2. Okay, so I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to click on Open. And what that's doing is that is attaching the document to this message. Okay. Next, I want to add a link. So let's say I want them to go to CNN, and I want them to review an article on CNN. And I use CNN because it's easy to put in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on a link. And I'm just going to put in the web address for CNN. If you wanted to, you could copy it right from your browser window where the address is up at the top here. So if I wanted to, I could click on that, copy it, and paste it right in here. And then I could put something like CNN article for review. So that is what they'll see. They'll see CNN article for review, and that's what they would click on. And that's better than putting like just a general link. Okay, so I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'll attach that. So they would click on CNN article for review. And when I go ahead and post this, you'll see that. Okay, the next one is, and I encourage teachers to build their course content in their resource section because it's super easy to transfer something from resources to any of your courses. So if you wanted to pull something from resources, like a document that you have in there, you could click on resources and notice that it's going to go to my resources area in Schoology. And if I wanted to, I could go to maybe my freshman English and author study. And if I had a document in there, all I would have to do is click on that document and then say attach, and it'll attach that document to this message also. Now, most of you probably know or have taken an online course before. You know how it can feel kind of isolating to be a student online. So if you're one of those people that would like to have your students hear your voice or be able to see you in a video recording, this is a great option right here. You click on the little microphone. If it's early morning and you haven't had your coffee yet and your hair looks a mess, you can do an audio only. So you can click on audio only, start recording, and what that'll do is it'll put an audio message that students can click on and they can hear your voice. And sometimes that can be pretty reassuring to some students, especially in this day and age when we've got so much craziness going on in the world. So if you wanted to do a recording like that, again, it becomes an attachment on your message. Okay, I'm gonna go out of that for a second, and I'm gonna go back in, and I'm gonna click on that microphone again. And if you're feeling really good about the way you look and you want your students to see you, you can audio and video at the same time. So you can see that I could create a recording for my students right here and just simply start recording. They would be able to see my message, and they would also be able to hear my voice if you wanted to do that. Again, once that recording is done and you stop the recording, it automatically loads as an attachment on your message, okay? Just something to think about if you'd like. And then this poll is like, it's a feature that you could try to engage your, it's an engagement type of activity. So if you wanted to do an announcement that's just a poll, I would recommend just doing it in isolation, like a poll. And what you would do is you would click on poll and you would put your question up in the text box there. What have you been doing with your time? Or what have you been doing to keep yourself occupied, or something like that? And then you could give them some options there. Texting, TV watching, working diligently on schoolwork, that kind of stuff. If you wanted to give them an option, you might want to make it a little funny to add a little humor too. So I'm not going to add a poll in this one, but I just wanted to give you the option. If you do poll, your message would go in here, and then you would give them different choices here. It's almost like a multiple choice type thing. Okay, I'm not going to do poll in this case. And then if you wanted to send the same message, let's say I wanted to send the same message to every single student in all of my classes, there's this handy dandy feature here, this little clipboard. And if you click on copy, what it does is it allows you to send the same message to any course that you have on your dashboard that is active. So if I wanted to send it to Flip the Script and High Yield Behaviors, I could send the same message without having to type it over and over in all of those other courses, okay? So at that point, I've selected this, and I'm going to send this message to some of these other courses, but I'm actually going to take those out because I'm actually actively teaching in some of those courses right now, and they might be a little confused to get that announcement. So what I'm going to do is I'll click on that again just to get rid of it. But remember, I want this message or announcement to be at the top of my screen so my students can see it and they don't have to click on updates right away. So I'm going to do that. I make sure that the bell is clicked on. Now, you'll notice if you're in your own course and you have students in your course, you might have a second option down here because parents have the option of being able to view student work or student content in a Schoology course. Okay, that's kind of a default, but parents need to have they need to have a login and access. But what they can do is they can go into a Schoology course and they can see all of the different content that's available to their student. So I'm going to switch over to a website real quick because I want to show you what that would look like. So in your class right here, when you click on that little icon next to the post, you'll probably see a bell and you'll probably see a person icon right there. If you want this message to be available to parents also, you would want to click on that little icon next to the individual. So what that does is it's going to put that announcement right at the top of your screen with the bell, and it will also make this announcement available to parents when they log into the Schoology course if they choose to do so. Okay. Okay, so now what we've done is we've added a file, we've added a link. I could have added a resource from my resource area. If I had wanted to, I could have added an audio or video recording. I could have added a poll if I'd wanted to. Remember, if you're going to do a poll, you probably want to make that an individual announcement. And then if you wanted to copy this same announcement to several of your courses, you just select the course that you would like to send it to. That'll save you a lot of time in terms of putting it in individual courses. Okay, I'm going to use that pull down again right next to the post. I want to make sure that my bell is selected, and I am ready to post now. Okay, the reason why when you add files or you add a link like I did, you need to let the students know that they need to check their updates section, okay? Because when they do that and they click on updates, they will see those things that I just added, the CNN article and the PDF document that I wanted them to take a look at. Unfortunately, it doesn't provide links right here in the announcement section. So that's why you would need to tell them if you have added a link or a file right here in that part of it, you'll want to tell them to check their updates so that they can click on that and see the files that you have attached. Okay. You also could add material in your course if you wanted to, like right here, and you could make it a page underneath one of your week setups, okay? I'm gonna check back in with you, and I wanna see if there are any questions right now. I see that there's some notes. I'm gonna check in here. Okay, James, I will definitely post the sign-up sheet again in the comment section. I'm sorry. Will the copy feature also copy the announcement to the courses you select? Yes, they will. So what'll happen is if you use that copy feature, the announcement, and you use the bell feature, it'll go directly to the top of whatever course you've selected. Okay, but I do strongly encourage you to use that bell feature because students are not currently used to clicking on that updates in order to get the message. Does that make sense? And Claudia asked a great question. She said, do you suggest we add parents to our announcements throughout online learning or just for the first couple of weeks? I think I would at least do it for the first couple of weeks, Claudia, just so parents can kind of get a sense of what this is all about. This is totally new to them too. So I would recommend that you include them in the first couple weeks, and then you can kind of gauge how things are going. If we hear a lot at the district about parents not understanding what's going on or not feeling engaged, then we probably would want to continue those announcements throughout this whole online learning experience for students. But I would strongly recommend at least for the first couple weeks you include the parents on that, just so they can see those announcements too. Okay. Excellent. Are there any other questions at this point?
John, just I'm going to circle back to that, my original question. Sorry, I couldn't type fast enough.
No worries.
I used Synergy to send out one of those mass communications. I've used it before, but I let them know what we were doing, and we were going to be posting enrichment activities during the closure. I sent it to both parents and students with instructions for parents on how to access Schoology and students, so they couldn't pretend that they didn't know how. But, well, and it's worked because a few have popped in, I know, to see what's there, which is great. But I think if I recall, that blind copy pops into your Gmail inbox, the blind copy record of exactly what your email looks like.
That's
and then
correct.
I think, is that where it drops that? And I'm just sorry, I've got so much information in my head, I'm forgetting.
I know you do. I'm sorry.
No, this is awesome. This is awesome. You guys have been wonderful. I think that's where the record comes in of the STMP for Johnny Smith's parent is not working or not on file. It gives you a record of exactly which emails were successfully delivered, and it gives you the student and the parent name. So I believe that comes in your Gmail after blind copy. Would that be helpful to just forward to your tech contact at school, or would that not be helpful to forward to?
So that would be very helpful, because what we can do is we just need to make sure that we have a working email for them. So one thing that you could do is, if you have the ability to, is if you could find a working email for them, or if you could contact the student or some way to find a working email for them, that would be great. Just because the ed techs, we're pretty taxed right now in terms of the work that we're required to do, the webinars, and trying to help individuals at the sites. So if as much information as you have as possible would be great. If you do have a working email address for them, if you could forward that, that would be great too. But we definitely want to make sure that we're reaching everybody. And once we're able to get into Synergy with the correct email address, we can update it within seconds. Okay.
Okay, because that I think that would be important just now more than ever, and it just gives you a report of everything successfully delivered, and then the ones that it didn't, those names would be self-explanatory on that list. I just didn't know if that would be the best way, given what you guys are trying to handle right now.
I think that's a really good start. I think that's a good start. And Michaela, to be honest, we're still kind of working through and trying to figure things out from our perspective too. I mean, I know you guys are probably overwhelmed by everything that you need to do. So any information that you can give, we're going to figure out how to work through it. Okay.
You guys have been amazing.
Thank you.
You're not showing any blips or anything. Thank you so much, John.
You're welcome. Thank you. I appreciate that. There's one more resource that I want to show you, and I'm going to share the link with you, and you might want to copy it. I'm going to jump in, and I'll put this link in the chat section. But what it does is it gives you a whole lot of information about creating an update in Schoology. It does like little GIFs that show you exactly how to do everything that I've talked about in this seminar. So it's a good resource. And it kind of goes over some of the things like in terms of formatting or adding a file. So I will give you this link, and it'll just give you a little bit more information than maybe what I covered in this course, but most of this I have covered already, just so you have it and you can refer to it later if necessary. So I'm going to put that in. I'll put that in the chat right now, and you might want to just copy it and put it somewhere where you can access it later if need be. Okay, that's pretty much the extent of this webinar. Again, using Synergy, that communication method is probably the best if you are trying to get information to student and parent email addresses, okay? If you are trying to give like a course update or an announcement, you certainly can use Schoology and that updates feature to do that. So that would be a great way to do that. Again, if you are making an update announcement in Schoology, before you click on that post, click on the little icon next to it. Make sure that you have selected the bell so that announcement goes to the top of your course. I see a couple questions. I'm going to go ahead and answer those now. Okay, so it's you said, did you say messages to students sent in updates will remain in Schoology? Yes, they will remain in Schoology, and messages sent in Schoology via the message icon will go to their student email. Are you talking about like the little, I guess the email icon in the top right corner of Schoology? Okay, yes, that would go to their email. You could do it that way. Unfortunately, Claudia, it doesn't let you mass send out an email. So what Claudia is asking is, I'm going to go back to Schoology real quick. If you go up to that little, the little email in the right-hand corner, if I pull that down and I create a new message, this will go to their Tempe Union email address. Unfortunately, I would have to individually input every single student's name in order for it to work here. It doesn't let you send it by class like Canvas used to do. So that's why I didn't go into any detail about using this message feature within Schoology, because it's just too much work for a teacher to input all their students' email addresses in here. So the most effective way to communicate with students in the Schoology section is using this updates or announcement feature right here. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I'm not saying that you can't use that mail feature in Schoology. It's just that you have to individually put each student in, and I just don't think that's the best use of your time right now with all that you've got to work on. Okay. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and put the sign in again. At the end in the chat area, so that if you have not signed in for this course already, you certainly can do that. I want to make sure that you get credit for spending time with me today. And I'll just focus on any last questions that you may have about communicating in either Synergy or Schoology.
Oh, no, got it. Okay,
cool. And I have recorded this session, and I will send it to you just in case you need to refer to it later, okay? I'm sure you're going to want to keep it just because it's such a great
thanks, John.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all for participating in this webinar. And again, let me go ahead and put my email address in the bottom here too. So if you have any questions, again, you can approach any ed tech right now. We're not school specific at this point. Oh, .K12. I think I did that right. So there's my email address. So if you have any questions specifically, and I know I talked to a couple people in here that had individual situations that they might need some help with, feel free to email me at this and we can work through any issues that you may be having. Okay. Thank you all. You've been a great audience, and I appreciate your attention, and anything I can do to help you in the next couple of weeks. I know this is overwhelming, not only for you, but I'm sure it is for students too. I know we're doing another tech distribution this week. So students that have not gotten their computers yet will have 2 opportunities to go get computers. So hopefully we'll be able to get most students online with a computer and using free Cox internet if they need it. Okay. Take care. You guys have a great day. And I look forward to seeing you in future webinars. Welcome. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, John.
You're welcome, Scott.